This video is a continuation of the Clea 1 video. If you have not played the game or watched the video, I recommend going back and watching that first before watching this one. Also, spoilers for Clea 1 and 2 will be in this video. Video game sequels. They can be a great opportunity for developers to examine the foundation of the original game and try to improve upon it. I've seen games that stay true to what made the first game great, while keeping things fresh, while other projects can be a little bit too ambitious for their own good. Looking at you, Banjo-Tooie. How some of my favorite video games of all time are sequels. Majora's Mask, Silent Hill 2, Metroid Prime 2, Danganronpa 2, Super Mario Bros. 3. These games improved upon what was already there in great strides, while making a new experience that I loved even more. With all that in mind, where does Clea 2 fall into place when considering all this? Is it better than the original game? Does it improve on any mechanics? Or bring any new gameplay elements to the mix? Let's find out! Due to the reception of Clea 1 and a solid gameplay loop, there was so much potential here for developer Invert Mouse. Clea 2 was released 2 years after the first Clea, and the anticipation up to launch was amazing. During the Discord server, and they had a launch day party where Invert Mouse signed thank you cards. One of my most cherished possessions. Interestingly enough, we don't play as the title character Clea in this game. Instead, we play as Florine, one of the maids of the Whitlock family during the events of the first game. Which is already a sign of changes to come in this outing right off the bat. We open up with our new lead, Florine, walking to her new job with the Chester family. The eerie atmosphere already settles in as it's something we haven't seen before. Florine then gets introduced to the family consisting of Liam, May, and May's father. We also get this great line from Florine that establishes her character in a nutshell.
Sorry, but betrayal is kind of my thing.
God, it's so fucking good. Also, this line is a clear callback to Clea 1, which is amazing. We get into the gameplay, it's mostly the same as Clea 1's moveset and mechanics. The same brilliant auto design of the first game is still intact as well, and God, I missed it. No matter how many times I go back to replay these two games, I cannot get over how cool and effective the audio design adds to the experience and strategy of the gameplay loop. It's just fantastic and always will be. However, to a returning player, you'll quickly notice that the first level is a lot more involved with switches to activate just to grab the different elements, and is a simple puzzle with set elements to boot, resulting in backtracking to the top floor to activate the end goal, and then you need to walk back to the start without getting caught just to beat the level. So there's a cat you need to tiptoe around now. Also, the key you will notice that May is chasing you around the house with blood on her face and red gloves. That's not suspicious at all. This is already a major wake up to de-rust the player into what they are in for, and a great intro for what's to come. We then enter the portal to the 4th dimension, while getting a look at our next enemy, Sightless. We also get introduced to Nancy, who is Mr. Chester's assistant, and the game wants to establish her as Florine's rival. We'll get back to that. Liam and May follow Florine to the portal, and we also meet Dragon Fae, who claims herself to be an observer of this world. As the player, you'll notice that the game now is a hub world as opposed to exploring the whole mansion like in Clea 1. This gives us some breathing room in between stages and is not very traditional in this type of genre. Honestly, I welcome it as it makes the backtracking to get all 3 endings a bit more convenient. Also, I think there could have been an opportunity to do a Silent Hill 4 type of thing where the hub world turns into a place that's a threat. I'm not sure if that would be the best thing for the game or difficulty balancing, but just an idea for the future. Florine is then told by Dragon Fae that May has been taken by Sightless, because of course she did, and Florine chases after her. Gameplay wise, there are some interesting things to know here. You're allowed to map up your path through the level as long as Sightless is holding his hands up to his eyes. Once you take the orb from the pedestal, Sightless will activate again, and you have to start making your move. I honestly really like this system, and it's a shame this is only present for this one level. But at the same time, I get the game would be too easy if this is how every stage worked. Also, there's a bit of a show don't tell the game pulls here, such as showing Nancy hiding in fear towards the end of the level from Sightless. And honestly, it's such a stark contrast as our lead Florine is calm and collected throughout most of the adventure, while Nancy is, well, you know, cowering in fear. Cool attention to detail for sure. Florine then is able to rescue away when Liam is left behind to die. Seems like a pretty early death as we're only in chapter 2 when this death happens and we barely knew the guy, but we must carry on, as Florine does. We also meet the Arcane Disc, talking disc, who says we can't handle wielding it this time, and we'll get back to that later as well. Florine then meets up with Nancy, and she's turned into Lucas from The Wizard.
Nancy, no. Those gloves are dangerous.
I love the Chaos Gloves. They're so good.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
We then cut to Chaos Clea from the first game?
I see you've made some new friends.
That voice.
It's been a while, Florin.
Clea, I see you've succumbed to chaos.
Yes, and as you'll see, we'll soon take over the arcane realm. Why don't you join me? We can destroy this place as partners.
Sorry, but I'm on a mission.
It's chaos or death, Florin.
Looks like Clea isn't doing so well. Florin then pushes onward despite her dark past. We have to deal with, you guessed it, Chaos Clea. This chapter throws a new mechanic at you. See that cracked floor? Yeah, you gotta tiptoe to make less noise on it now. Our main goal is to activate the switches in the correct order. It's actually possible to do this in one go, which is honestly a nice touch. Otherwise, you just have to do multiple trips and see what symbols need to be pressed in what order. Also, another wrench in the sink is Chaos Clea will randomly appear at times and that'll kill you, so don't touch that. Just get out of it. Also, before you end the level, be sure to walk to the right and then you'll see a hidden key, which is our first entryway into the secret chapters, which we'll touch upon later. Once you get to the end, it's revealed that Chaos Clea was just War Maiden in disguise.
It's a trap!
Also, we find out that Clea is doing alright. She's older, she has a new design. Good stuff, man. Also, the game explains that she's been trying to distance herself from chaos with the Path of Arcane. And Florin and Clea honestly have a little heart-to-heart here that's really nice to see after the events of the first game. And they're even able to forgive each other and make peace and just move on with their lives.
It's good to see you, Florin.
You truly mean that? Even after what I've done?
Mom, Dad, Ed, I still miss them every day. I don't want to lose anyone else, no matter what they did. I forgive you, Florin. Now it's up to you to forgive yourself.
You truly are a sweet child, Clea.
This is the only time we see Clea in the main campaign, but we'll see her once again in one of the game's extra modes. Also, Dragonfey has a new hairstyle for reasons. Mr. Chester and May then travel to the Chaos Realm, and we're too late to talk any sense of them, so Florin chases after them. But before we do that, we have to cover the secret chapter. This begins a series of flashbacks before the events of the game, and even Clea 1 as well. The first one is rather interesting, as we see Florin's inner turmoil with her mother abandoning her when she was a child. And suddenly, we're confronted by Miss Tihi's spirit, claiming that Florin's actions are all the reason why all of them are dead. Then we transition to the gameplay, and it's pretty straightforward actually. What you need to do is find 3 circles and then ring the bell to lure the mates to kill them. It also gives you a little sneak peek on some of the mechanics you'll need in Chapter 5. Once we complete the level, the spirit of Florin's mother returns to show us what actually happened to her when she was a child. But as we actually see in the flashback, Crimson Hair women are not taken very kindly in this universe, and they both want them fucking dead. It's supposedly linked to chaos. Florin's mother left her in the hands of the Whitlock family to save her from dying, and her mother sacrificed himself before he could live. Really heavy stuff, and that kind of explained why Florin is so dedicated to Clea's mom in the first place. And see that you get part of her soul essence? How interesting. Also, we get another key to backtrack to the second chapter for another secret chapter. Thankfully, Invert Mouse learned from the first game, and the backtracking is very minimal here. Just go back to chapter 2 and look for the Red Eye door, and bam, you got the next key, which makes getting all 3 endings much easier in repeat playthroughs. The next flashback we follow Mai being tested to kill an arcane servant, but seems like she's having a little bit of trouble carrying things out. Florin is then confronted by the main once again, and the gameplay is the exact same, except the rings are in different places. I'm guessing this was an intentional choice, but in Clea 1, every extra chapter had a different objective crafted for each one, while in Clea 2, it has the same one for these first 2 chapters. Once we complete this section, we see that she can't do it. Mr. Chester then apologizes to War Maiden, and she tells him to steal the Soul Chalice. This also gives us a little bit more context on what was going on at the start of the game. And then as a reward we get May's Soul Essence. I'm sensing a pattern here. Back to the main game progression with Chapter 4. Florin then chases after Mr. Chester and May. The atmosphere feels tense, especially with all the tentacles around. Notice for this level, we are hunted down by War Goddess, who frankly looks fucking terrifying. We have this cool blood splatter effect when she's in the same room as you as well. No other enemy in the game has this also. Also, there's tentacles that come out of the ceiling, and if they touch you, you fucking die, so just, yeah, don't do that. Main goal is to activate both context sets to the points to summon the arcane servants, and backtrack to the other end to cut the tentacle, and then you can progress to the next area. I had this really close call during the recording, and just wanted to share this in the video. Also, there is another chance for the last secret chapter in the game. Just activate the purple set of switches and bam! You had the last hub world key needed to get all the endings. This chapter ends with Mr. Chester and May relaying what's needed to be done, and Florrie running into Nancy again. Nancy wants to prove that she's not a laughingstock to everyone and runs off to the next chapter. We now have the extra chapter, and this one has a lot of fan service if I'm being honest. You see a flashback to the mansion from Clea 1, from Florian is speaking to Clea's mother about a lunch she wants her to attend. Then cut to gameplay, which uses the chapter 4 theme as the backdrop once again, so it's the same as the first two, which kind of makes me miss the variety that Clea 1 had. We do the same gameplay loop essentially again, and then we find out what happens. We then cut to the party that the maids are supposed to be having, and the maids notice that Florian is carrying a lantern with her. And then in a genius callback to Clea 1, Florian says this.
By the way, Florine, what's with the lantern?
It's just kind of my thing.
There's another great line for her and shows us the disaster of Clea 1 before it all went down. We then interestingly get the other half of her soul essence, which then you combine into her complete soul essence. Now we have all the pieces for all the game's endings, which we'll get to later. This is also the point of the game where the hub world is no longer accessible after you enter the port to chapter 5, so make sure you don't forget anything because this is your last chance. Chapter 5 is the turning part of the story as we are now on a boat. Remember when I said the secret chapters were a taste of what chapter 5 had to offer? Well, this is what I meant. There's a little more to it this time, as you need to activate the corresponding switches to kill the Chaos Servants. Did I mention there's also a fucking time limit in the areas now? So yeah, get used to that. Also, the spiders from Clea 1 are back too, because, you know, we miss them so much. We just kill the servants to get the keys, and then the last one you have to lure one out of the room, and then rush to the room that has the circle. Yeah, chapter 5 is pretty crazy the first time around. Once we complete the chapter, we catch up with Nancy once again. She then sacrifices herself to save Florine, and that's the last we see of her. I have to go on a little rant here, but I kind of question the point of Nancy's character and having her as Florine's rival. I honestly feel like the game really didn't do much with it, other than just like, oh yeah, this is her rival now. And then she dies like a little way past the halfway mark, and then she's not in the game again. So I don't know, man. Freaking Disc then again warns Florine that wielding him could tear her to shreds, but she goes anyway. And we even get an outfit change with her hair as well. We then cut to the Hell Realm where Mr. and Mrs. Chester are with May and they are gunning for the Soul Chalice. May then shows up one last time to tempt Florine to give into chaos. This section of the game is very interesting because we now have combat. You're allowed to do a short attack or a long attack to the enemies, and the long attack has a bit of wind up to it, so don't go spamming it too much or you'll be taking some damage. There's some breathing room, but you can only take so many hits during these sections. The original soundtrack for this part of the game is sick, and I had it playing during this part of the video. I have to mention that the enemies with the eyeballs look suspiciously similar to the Kako demons from the Doom series. Maybe Ember Mouse got some inspiration, I don't know. Then the trademark Easter egg ruse shows up once you clear out this room. You'll be mowing down enemies when eventually you run into War Maiden herself. This is like a pseudo boss fight, as the more attacks you land, the harder she gets to deal with. Eventually she will get a shield, and the only window to hit her is when she's swinging her axe down, and then you can land a hit. This section goes on for a little bit longer, and then it's over. We then cut to War Maiden, where it's revealed she's not actually War Maiden, but just merely a messenger, and the real War Maiden is here to wreck everyone. Florian then notices Clea's mother and tries to deter Florian away from saving her, but Florian isn't taking no for an answer. Mr. Chester then makes the choice to sacrifice his life to protect May, and walks away from the path of chaos. Mrs. Chester suffers the same fate, and then we get the last words of the Arcane Gist giving us a pep talk before meeting his demise. We then take Mai on her back and have to slowly carry her out of this hell realm. This final sequence is tense due to the reduction in options and the music track backing us here. We also get brief sections of chapters 2 through 4 as to really ring home that this is the end of our journey. Gameplay is also interesting, as you have to wait for the visual cues of where Lord Maiden will show up, and with that you have to decide if you want to get past it or wait it out. It goes on for a bit to build up the tension, resulting in this game of tug of war as you try to get ahead of Lord Maiden or have to go back to not die. Eventually we outrun Lord Maiden, since we collected all the extra items, We are now presented with 3 choices here. Either use Florine's soul essence, use May's soul essence, or abandon both Clea's mom and May. Choice is up to the player, but Infamous has confirmed that none of them are actually really more canonical over another one. We'll discuss all 3 here. First, starting off with the ending you get if you don't collect anything, the abandoned ending. Florine leaves both May and Clea's mother behind. Then see Lord Maiden and Dragon Fae exchanging words, and we still have no clue what they really mean. Then Florine makes the tough decision to leave without Clea's mother, with the final image of her crying on the results screen. This isn't actually my least favorite ending of the 3. We'll get to that one. But honestly, it does feel a bit hollow considering what happens throughout the game. To be fair, this is the ending you get without doing any of the extra content, so it is kind of fitting in that sense. Even the jingle on the results screen conveys this as well. As if it's trying to tell you, hey, you could have done the other 2 choices here. Clea's mom does see where Florine is coming from, as she can now take care of May. Overall, not the worst ending of the 3, and it's most likely going to be people's first endings if they weren't too keen on finding the keys throughout the game. So overall, not too bad. Next is the reunion ending, and this is my least favorite of the 3. Let me explain why. This ending, Florine uses May's soul essence to bring Clea's mother back to life. Clea's mom is disappointed in Florine, even saying that she can't call her mistress anymore. Yeah, the fact that the person you're trying to save is pissed at you because of the means you did so is not exactly the best look. I think this ending shows us Florine being so hell-bent on getting what she wants that she'll even give up May for it. But at least in the banding ending, she understands her wanting to take care of May, but here it's just like, damn, it really do be like that, huh? Last, but certainly not least, is the sacrifice ending, which I personally think is the best one and most fitting for the game and Florine as a character. She uses her soul essence to let Clea's mother and Mai escape from the spirit realm, which in turn lets her redeem herself and let the people she cares about live on. So yeah, I really like this one and headcanon it. Again, there's no actual canonical ending to the game, so your headcanon can be whatever you want it to be. Also, in retrospect, the way the endings work kind of reminds me of the Silent Hill 2 or 4 approach, where the game has multiple endings based on what you do in the game, and there's no really, correct one. Just wanted to point that out. After the game launched, Invert Mouse released a standalone side campaign entitled Clea's Quest. In this mode, Clea returns to the Whitlock Mansion after 4 years. She senses that there's still hatred and just bad energy surrounding the place, so this is her personal mission just to clear all of that. Now we transition into the gameplay, and this one is very interesting because it's basically a endless mode. The more orbs you collect, the better ending you will receive. The biggest shakeup for this campaign is the Warbane curses. Basically, the game will randomly select of effects that'll make you change up your strategy. For example, you might get the Rain Cloud effect, which makes Clea run all the time. Or you may get one where your controls are reversed. There's one where you can't peek. There's one where your visibility is limited. I've even encountered one where there's no audio. It's very evil and sadistic. You can even play the main game with the Warbane curses enabled as well if you really want to. The layout does resemble Clea 1, but also it has the locations from the Clea 2 campaign. Basically, you kind of keep going until you get enough orbs to get the best ending. Which is easier said than done because holy fuck, this is difficult. Can't even count how many times I died alone just to get the recording for this video. Technically, you don't have to get all of them, but the more you get, the better ending you get. But here we're getting that true ending, man. Once we collect all of them, Clea comes to the realization that she's able to move past chaos and embrace arcane. Even to the point where choosing her as a vessel is questioned.
Give it up, Clea. Surrender to me, and you can have infinite power. I will never walk a path of destruction. It's too late. Just look at your home. Who is at fault for all that bloodshed? Your words have lost their power. When I'm kind to myself, there is help all around me. You're alone, War Maiden. No one can survive on their own. Foolishness. Perhaps I've chosen the wrong vessel.
Then get this beautiful artwork. Look at it. Glorious. So with all this in mind, where does Clea 2 stack up? Well, to sum it up, I really enjoyed this game a lot, and I think it's great, and I vastly prefer it over Clea 1. The new gameplay mechanics freshen things up, we get more lore, the backtracking is easier as well. Florine has some great characterization as well, with her lines and personality. The only thing I'm not too keen on is the rivalry with Florine and Nancy, because, I mean, real, I don't think the game really did that much with her, but maybe Invert Mouse can work on that in the future, who knows. Also, the next project is slated to be in the universe that Clea established, but it's not Clea 3, and we know it's called Project X, so that should be interesting as well. Know very little about it, and Invert has shown some stuff on the Discord server about progress updates and small things, but we don't really know much about it, which is going to date this video a lot when the game is actually out. Either way, Clea 2 was great, super worth the wait. I like the new gameplay mechanics, and it's a good sequel, man. I don't know. Thank you for making it to the end of this journey that I call this video. Hope you enjoy it, and yeah, we will catch you next time, whatever it may be. Rockstar out.